Hey guys, it's ASP Productions, and today we're going to be doing 2020-2021 NFL season predictions with playoffs. Make sure to comment and like on this video and turn on that notification bell. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, ASP Productions. First, we have the NFC East. At first place, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who would finish with an 11-5 record, followed by the second place Philadelphia Eagles, who finished with a 10-6 record. Then, the New York Giants, who would finish with a 6-10 record. Finally, we have the Washington Redskins ending with a 3-13 record. The reason I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to finish first in the NFC East is because of newly acquired talent in CeeDee Lamb and many others in the NFL draft. CeeDee Lamb provides another threat in the already potent Dallas Cowboys offense. The reason I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to finish second place is because they're kind of injury prone. And the reason I have the Giants and the Redskins finishing third and fourth is because they're still not that good, they're still rebuilding. But I think Saquon and Chase Young are going to have a great season. Now we have the NFC West. The San Francisco 49ers are not going to have a Super Bowl slump and are going to finish 13-3, while the Seattle Seahawks are going to finish 11-5, the LA Rams at 9-7, and the Arizona Cardinals at 8-8. I think the San Francisco 49er defense will step up big this year, and Nick Bosa will be a key piece to that big defense. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to finish 11-5 because they still have a good defense and a great secondary. Russell Wilson is still good, and they still have DK Metcalf, who I expect to take a big leap next year. I think the Rams are going to go 9-7 because they lost key pieces in Corey Littleton and Todd Gurley. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to finish 8-8 because they have Kyler Murray and newly acquired DeAndre Hopkins. I think they're going to form an unstoppable duo and going to win some games this year. Now we have the NFC North. First place, we have the Green Bay Packers at a record of 11-5. Then the Minnesota Vikings at 10-6, followed by the Detroit Lions at 6-10. And then last place, we have the Chicago Bears ending the season with a 6-10 record. The reason I'm picking the Packers to win the NFC North is because Aaron Rodgers is still an elite quarterback, and they still have Matt LaFleur, one of the best coaches in the NFL. I know they had a questionable NFL draft, but I think Aaron Rodgers and the young Packers core can lead this team to the playoffs once again. I know that the Vikings had a bad offseason this year, losing key offensive and defensive players, but they still had a decent draft, and I think the LSU product, Justin Jefferson, would do great in the Vikings offense. The reason I put the Lions and the Bears at 6-10 is because they're both still rebuilding and still need some key pieces to go along with their offense and defense. Now for the NFC South, we got the New Orleans Saints with a 12-4 record, followed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with an 11-5 record. Then the Atlanta Falcons, who finished 7-9, and Carolina Panthers end their season with a 5-11 record. I put the Saints at 12-4 because they still have a high-power offense led by Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, and their D is still stout as always. I got the Bucs going 11-5 this season because they got key pieces such as Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Both of them make their offense even more deadlier. I expect them to be a big contender in the NFC. I'm predicting the Falcons to go 7-9 this season because they lost key defensive players in Vic Beasley Jr. and Desmond Trufant. I think the Panthers are going to go 5-11 this season because they're still rebuilding, and I don't think Teddy Bridgewater can lead them to the playoffs. Now for the AFC. First up, we got the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills are going to finish their season with a 12-4 record, followed by the Patriots at 7-9. Then the Dolphins with a 6-10 record, and last, we got the Jets with a 5-11 record to end their season. I'm thinking the Bills to go 12-4 this season because I think Josh Allen's going to elevate his game with newly acquired talent in Stephon Diggs. The reason I think the Patriots are going to be 7-9 is because they lost Tom Brady. Without him, this team is really bad. But I think since they have Bill Belichick, this team will have a decent amount of wins. And I'm thinking for them to go to 7-9. The reason I think the Miami Dolphins are going to finish 6-10 this season is because they're still a couple of years away from contending. But I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to start sometime this season and win a couple of games. The reason I think the Jets are going to be 5-11 is because just like the Dolphins, they're still a couple years away from really contending in the NFL. So I think Sam Darnold is still going to enjoy a good year and prove that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now for the AFC West, we got the Kansas City Chiefs finishing with a 14-2 record. Then for second place, we got 3 teams tied for a 4-12. But the Broncos will take second, the Raiders third, and then the Chargers last. I put the Chiefs at a 14-2 record because I think Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs also are destined to have a great season this year. The reason I put the Raiders, Broncos, and the Chargers at 4-12 is because they're still rebuilding and need to improve their rosters. Now for the AFC North, we got the Baltimore Ravens finishing with a 14-2 record, followed by the Cleveland Browns at 9-7, then the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-8, followed by the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-12. The reason I think the Ravens are going to finish 14-2 is because they got a lot of key additions on offense and defense. I think Lamar Jackson is going to have a second straight MVP season and going to lead the Ravens to a 14-2 record. Put the Browns at a 9-7 record because they have a stacked roster, but the lack of a decent head coach stops them from hitting their true potential. I put the Steelers at an 8-8 record because Big Ben's been dealing with injuries for the past couple of years and is on the decline. So I think the Steelers are going to end the season 8-8. The reason I think the Bengals are going to go 4-12 is because the Bengals roster is very young. But I think Joe Burrow and company are going to have a decent season and improve themselves. The AFC South, we got the Indianapolis Colts at 10-6, the Tennessee Titans at 9-7, the Houston Texans at 7-9, and the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing the season at a 4-12 record. The reason I think the Colts are going to be 10-6 is because of the addition of Phillip Rivers and many others in the NFL draft and in the offseason. They've become a really good team and I expect them to contend in the AFC. The reason I think the Titans are going to be 9-7 is because Ryan Tannehill isn't really an elite quarterback, but I think Derrick Henry and the Titans defense will get some wins for the Titans. The reason I think the Texans are going to be 7-9 is because I know they had a horrible offseason trading away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, but Deshaun Watson will lead this team to at least 7 wins. The reason I think the Jaguars are going to be 4-12 is because they're still rebuilding, and I don't think Gardner Minshew is actually a starting quarterback. Alright, now for awards. We have Lamar Jackson winning his second straight MVP and Andy Reid winning Coach of the Year. For Offensive Player of the Year, I think it would be Christian McCaffrey, and for Defensive Player of the Year, it would be Nick Bosa. Offensive Rookie of the Year, we have the number 1 overall pick, Joe Burrow, winning it. And for Defensive Rookie of the Year, we have the number 2 pick, Chase Young, winning it. For the Most Improved Player, I think Kyler Murray would win it. I expect him to take a big leap this year and to be very good. For the Comeback Player of the Year, I think Rob Gronkowski is going to win it. He's going to be really good with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, and I expect him to do big things. Now we're in the playoffs. First up, we have the NFC wildcard. The first matchup we have is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to pull this one off 28-17. The Cowboys offense is going to be too much for the Seahawks, and that defense is going to shut down Russell Wilson. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Green Bay Packers. And I think Tom Brady's going to pull this one off in extreme fashion with a game-winning drive. Finally, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are going to be too much for the Eagles, and they're going to blow them out 27-13. Now we have the AFC wildcard. First, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts offense is going to be too much for the Steelers D, and they're going to pull out 24-17. Next, we have the Tennessee Titans versus the Buffalo Bills. I think the Titans are outmatched in this game, and the Bills are going to pull off a low-scoring win, 17-7. Next, we have the Browns versus the Ravens. I think this will be an easy blowout for the Ravens, 31-13. Now it's time for the NFC Divisional Round. The first matchup we got is the 4th-seeded Dallas Cowboys taking on the 2nd-seeded New Orleans Saints. I know that the Cowboys offense is really good, but I think the Saints defense are going to shut them down with a final score of 21-35. Next, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the San Francisco 49ers. This will be an amazing game, but the final score will be 38-35 in a nail-biter win by Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alright, now we have the AFC divisional round. We got the 3-seeded Buffalo Bills taking on the 2-seeded Baltimore Ravens. I think this game is going to be close by the third quarter, but by the fourth, Lamar Jackson is going to pull this one out 30-21. The next matchup we got on the slate is the 4th-seeded Indianapolis Colts taking on the 1st-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. And I think Mahomes is going to enjoy a stellar game, and he's going to pull this one out 28-13. Now for the NFC Championship, we got two hated NFC South rivals taking on each other for the Super Bowl. And for this game, I think the Saints are going to pull this one out 27-24 in the fourth quarter. Now it's time for the AFC Championship. We got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this will be a close game and one of the best games in NFL playoff history. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are going to get a game-winning field goal over Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, advancing to Super Bowl 55. Now for the big game, Super Bowl 55. We got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This will be one of the best Super Bowls in NFL history, and I think the Ravens are going to get this in a high-scoring game, 42-40.